Aloha and welcome back to a new episode of the Ohana Packers Edition podcast, the podcast where two dudes from halfway around the world talk everything green and gold. I'm Mike, and that's Iowa Joe. Today, we're going over the fourth victory of the Green Bay Packers in the 2023 season. Joe, finally, we, we've crossed a bunch of landmarks for the offense. Forget the defense, but for the offense, more than 20 points for the first time in forever. Almost 400 yards of offense, and the offense looked exciting. It wasn't like pulling teeth. Joe, how pumped were you after today's game?
Well, and especially against a team that nobody figured that they were going to beat. I mean, everybody was always all being Debbie Downers about this game. I mean, I guess I wasn't on the preview show, but I wasn't even looking forward to this game because I just figured that they would, tear the hell out of the Packers. But, all side, if I had to honestly say it, this was probably the most complete game they've had in a long time. Yeah, the defense was doing some stupid things, but they were at least, there when it mattered. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, the Sun played a lot of that, and a lot of the bad plays was the Sun and the receiver's eyes and whatever. But hey, it happens. That's what you get when you're not in a dome. So, but yeah, like I said, most complete game that they've had in a long time. The first 300-yard passer since 2021. Uh, Two touchdowns, no interceptions. This is the type of game that we were waiting for from Jordan Love. So, I'm excited. I feel a little bit better going into Thursday's game than I was previously. But yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah, let's just lead into the offense. Kind of said the big points. They finally broke 20 points, even if just barely. And they've been trending towards 400. I think they've been like 396, 398, 397 or something. They've been right on the brink of averaging 400 yards of offense the last three games. And against the Chargers were probably the worst defense of the three that they faced in the last three games. So good to see them. Their point totals start to match their it's slowly creeping up to matching their yardage production, and a lot of that is on the back of Jordan playing his best game of the season. And it was just great to see him, like we said, we were hoping that the Rams game would be a potential turning point, and so far so good. That's three ducks in a row at this point, and you just want to see him continue that upward trajectory that he's been on the past few weeks. Really, first off, clean game. I don't think he really had any turnover worthy plays. There might have been some throws to the outside that potentially were on the fringe of that, but overall, I thought his decision making was really good today. He had like maybe two bad throws. The obvious one is the Musgrave on that wheel route in the fourth quarter. But outside of that, I thought he had some really good ball placement on his intermediate and especially outside the number throws. And his two touchdown throws, the kind of pop pass throw to Watson, it was a really good bucket shot to get it over the defenders at the goal line. And then the Dobbs one, that one was kind of fringing on, again, leaving it too short. But I think that is the whole, like, give your guy a chance and don't run him out the back of the end zone. And at least this time he was throwing it to the one guy who wins jump balls on this roster so far. So, and Dobbs made a hell of a play on that thing. Properly identified how deep the throw was, went up, snagged that thing out of the air, and then like turtle over the ball so that Mike Davis couldn't get in and break it up. So I thought Love looked like he was in control all game, worked around some bad play around him. There were like 5 or 6 drops by again, Aaron Jones had a rough one in the flat. And side note on Jones, it sounds like he avoided something major, so that's always good news.
That's good
And
news.
then
I didn't see that. I know I was seeing thing. So I think LaFleur said something in his press conference. He was asked what the plan was, and he said that it's all in Goody's hands, but they're pretty sure that they have an idea on what they're going to be doing for the Thursday night or Thursday game.
Yeah. So but yeah, it's sounded pretty positive. The initial returns is that his ACL is intact, and it's just a matter of the MRI showing whatever else is in there. So, but yeah, I really liked Love's game today. How did you think he played today?
Like I said, I think this has been the best game he's played ever. I mean, this is even better than the short amount of time he played in the Philadelphia game, last year. So I said this one other time that if what would make me feel comfortable with Jordan Love, the first step of the way would be a 300-yard game, multiple TDs, no interceptions. All right, we just made that check on the list. It's kind of helped with, if you had other things on the list like lead a comeback, stuff like that. He's already did that. He's just never has done the 300-yard, multiple TDs, no interceptions. Sorry, I'm being distracted because I turned the Denver game on and they just pulled ahead of the Minnesota Vikings. So there's your little news break for the moment. But yeah, I I'm not ready to say extend the guy and go, but this is one of those games that we were waiting for. One of those complete games, one of those games that he was making great throws. Like you said, yeah, there were a couple of throws maybe he shouldn't have tried, or maybe he should have took a little bit off, or he put a little too much on. But he looked like a true leader out there. You could even see at one point when he got frustrated with, I want to say it was Dontavian Wicks, where they were saying Wicks ran the wrong route, and he full on was, you could see it where he was yelling at Wicks like, you ran the wrong route, and hey, what's going on? But yeah, I mean, it was a great game. It really was. I think the next thing would be, like we've said along, just now he's got to stack successes. I know the next game is going to be one of the roughest game he's going to have, but let's face it, they played a I know some people were saying that they aren't, but the Chargers defense is not like horrid. Now, granted, they did lose Joey Bosa. I don't know what we're hearing on the injury front for him, but they did drop Bosa, but friggin' Khalil Mack still had 2 sacks. And it's not like they have scrubs at corner or safety. They got Derwin James, they got Asante Samuel Jr. What's the other one they've got going on
Mike
over there?
Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like they're completely useless. It's not like the Denver game. It's not like the Raiders game where, we should have just torched them. But so it just, now we got to go into Thursday on a short week with uncertainty at, obviously at uh running back, maybe a little bit of questionality with inside linebacker because Devondre dropped. So you got to stack them, stack successes.
Yep. No, that's going to be the key. And like I said, the big thing is that we've seen Love do that the last 3 games. I know he had the 2 interceptions against Pittsburgh, but really his games the last 3 weeks against the Rams, Steelers, and now the Chargers, his play has been on an upward climb. So it's just good to see him do it. And yeah, it's really important that, this is a big part of the season. They, like you said, they had their chances at what was the soft part of their schedule, and they dropped a bunch of those games, bad ones. They look really bad against like Atlanta now. That game looks like a terrible drop at this point. The Denver and Raiders games, maybe not as bad. They're not total bottom dwellers. They're kind of hanging more around 500 at this point in the season, but still at the time, kind of inexplicable to be as, incompetent looking as they were and inept on offense as they were at the time. And like I said, when in the open, it looks like we have a functioning NFL offense at this point, which is night and day from where they were a month ago, after they got their face kicked in by the Lions on Thursday Night Football, what was that, all the way back in week 4. Um, they were scuffling around for the next 4 weeks, and so it's just good to see them trend upwards. And the fact that it's Love who is like leading the charge, it's not like the run game has really picked up. The run game struggled again today. It's been on the back of Love, and it's not like he's just throwing a bunch of, he's not getting bad calorie stats like Justin Fields was in the preseason, where he's just dumping 2-yard screens off and they're turning him into like 60-yard touchdowns or anything like that. He is the one pushing the ball down the field, getting guys completions in the intermediate zones. Like touchdown to Dobbs, that was a deeper throw, so it was good to see him, connect on one of those again. And overall, the progression is just really nice. Like even like you said, Joe, his command in the offense, whether it's kind of just being the leader in the huddle, or just how he looks, he's back to being the cool, calm, collected guy in the pocket again after having some weeks where he looked a little choppy back there, So it's good to see him get his, figuratively and literally get his feet back under him after a rough month in the middle of the season.
Here's a stat for you to show you how he's been hitting deep passes better. Dontavian Wicks, 3 catches, 91 yards. He averaged 30.3 yards a catch. So, and he was hitting Dontavian Wicks at least, average 30 yards per, pass on to Wicks. So that just shows that he's having more successes down the field. It just seems like the short passes are what's hurting him more. And we've seen that, the drops by Jones, the drops by, during the screens and everything. So once he fixes that up, we could have a quarterback.
Yep, absolutely. On that note, I did have a tweet in the game. It was after the miss to Musgrave on the wheel route. I said, and Mark Sanchez was kind of Johnny on the spot pointing it out. He's like, look at his footwork. It's all janky on this throw. And I was like, Rodgers played the long game by exposing Love to too much wonky footwork, and it sabotaged his development that way. But seriously, it's just really good to see Love improve his game. And kind of like I pointed out in the article,
was it McCarthy or was it Clements that they said would like tied rope around
I think it was
Rodgers'
Clements.
legs to get his leg, to get his footwork down?
Yeah. I think it was Clements. I think that was a Clements mechanism. So
maybe
needs
we
more
need
of that. Needs
yeah,
more
we
of
need
that.
more of that.
Put the ankle weights back on.
Yeah,
But
duct tape.
The other side of it, it's not like Love is throwing to chop liver out there. The good thing is that these young receivers are starting to stack their successes as well. And it, like the article I wrote, that's kind of that it's a chicken or egg question, right? Like, which one do you need first? Do you need the better quarterback play to bring up the receivers, or do you need the receivers to be going along at least at the same pace of development? So, like you pointed out, Wicks had a hell of a game. I think I'd have to go back and count, but I think on his 3 catches, the longest air yard was maybe 15 yards. But there was a stat I saw where he's the first Packers receiver to have 3 catch. The first rookie Packers receiver to have 3 catches of 25 yards or more. And when you think about it, like who some of the rookies in Packers history are, that's an insane stat to think about. Like that Sterling Sharp never did it. So, I mean, that puts him in some rarefied air. So Wicks, he had a bad drop, but overcame it. He was a 60% on targets today. Dobbs, like I said, Paul Noonan wrote an article about he's one of the most inefficient receivers, but you know what? He's the reliable guy right now. And if he becomes like the Donald Driver, where he's the guy you look for on tough spots, third downs, whatever, and Wicks becomes your wide receiver 1 or whatever, so be it. But Dobbs is that guy that Love more often than not seems to want to look for on third downs, because he just trusts that if I get it near him, he's going to bring it in. And
I've always said that Dobbs was going to be the Davante Adams type. I want to preference that with saying I don't think he's going to be Davante Adams, but he's going to be that Davante Adams type where he's going to be the route runner. He's going to be the one that breaks himself open. He's going to be the one that probably can be more reliable at the catch. Where, when they were drafted, everybody was excited about Watson. I was more excited about Dobbs because I thought he was going to end up being the more refined receiver,
Yeah.
and Watson was going to be the potential guy. And I know it's still early and everything, but that's the way it looks like it's working out right now. Now, to kind of take a break, Denver beats Minnesota 21-20. So suck it, Minnesota. You lost to Denver too.
Eye for an eye, baby. But yeah, and then Jaden Reed was their run game today. I know that the counting stacks look pretty for the Packers run game. You look at it at from a high level view, it's like, oh, they got 100 yards rushing and 3.6. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And then you look at what the running backs actually did, and you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
it was all bad. It was terrible.
Well, it doesn't help when two of your running backs get injured and you're having to rely on just one guy.
Yeah,
But yeah, Jaden Reed 3 for 46 and he averaged 15.3 yards.
that brought the whole average up. But yeah, so it was done through the air today, and
And
then
then what confused me was, all right, you're having success running these end arounds, these jet sweeps with Reed. So you're going to stop and give it to Watson.
I
And it
think
didn't
that one
work.
was too telegraphed. Like you can't you can't give it to him the first time he runs one like in a game, because it's like, just put the neon light, the Vegas neon light sign on his back on that one. So yeah, that one was kind of like a, all right. like I do agree that you got to try get the ball in Watson's hands any way you can, but that one was a little bit too telegraphed for my
Yeah.
liking.
Well, and I have to say that I kind of, how do I want to say that? I don't completely blame Watson on it, but he didn't look like he hit hard. He just
No.
kind of danced around a little too much.
Yeah. He kind
And
of, I know what you're getting at. It kind of looked like he was like, we're gonna lose yards here. And once he like cleared the line of scrimmage, he was like, okay, like I saved it. This is good enough. Kind of like, yeah,
well, and I
it did
think
have that kind of
honestly,
a
if he
feel.
would have went full speed instead of the dance around, he probably could have got more than just the 1 yard because they wouldn't have been ready with the type of speed he has. They wouldn't have been ready for him. Now, would he have been able to take it back like Jaden did? No, he was never going to take it back, but he could have gotten more than what he did. That was
Yeah.
just my view. I know you your favorite thing is to say is you got to watch the all 22 when it comes out. So I mean, I could be reading it completely wrong, but that's just what I seem to think.
I think a lot of times on those plays, everything is getting blocked to the outside. It's getting blocked to the outside, and guys are too reluctant to even take that look inside to try cut it back against the grain. And Watson is definitely a guy, even this year where he's not super healthy, he's a guy where everyone's like, oh my God, that's the alien athlete. Get outside of him. And if he just sticks his foot in the ground and forget cutting back, like just cuts up the field at some point, like if he just dives kind of thing, he is 6'5", and that's like at least a couple yards kind of thing and stuff. So I know that it's not as simple as that, but I think I can't remember who it was earlier in the game, but Dylan or Jones had a run earlier in the game where no, it was Reed on another one of those like those kind of runs, and it was kind of like if you just cut that thing back, you had it and stuff. So yeah, it's like I know where the play is supposed to go, on the whiteboard, but sometimes you gotta show a little more imagination out there. So
Well,
I
and
think,
today I
yeah,
think people need to. I know you're going to go on to the next point, and I'm kind of bouncing around here,
nah,
but uh, the uh, the touchdown to Watson. Now, I believe it was Lafleur or maybe it was Love came out and said that wasn't in the game plan at all.
yeah, it was Love who said
Lafleur
that post
wrote
game.
it up on Love. Lafleur wrote it up on the sidelines because of what he was seeing out there. That tells me that LaFleur has an eye to do this. We
Yeah,
just need to see him do it more often.
And
If you got to stray away from the
yeah,
game plan a little bit, do it, because the game plan isn't always going to be great. You can go in
yeah,
there thinking you're going to be able to do it, but to quote Mike Daniels, to quote Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until you punch them in the mouth.
yep,
And that tends to happen too much to the Packers. So you have if you can do it, now I'm not saying make your whole thing just drawing up plays during the game or anything, but take it, if you can go through, let's say, a quarter or two and you see what the defense is giving you, write the damn thing up. Send it in.
yep, absolutely. Yeah, and like that note from Love, that's the thing is like it only gets a spotlight when it works. But when it doesn't work, it's like, oh, he didn't try. He didn't try anything different. He didn't make adjustments, kind of thing and stuff. And that's the part where I'm not willing to give up on LaFleur as a play. Some people are like, don't let him call plays, but it's like you can't not have him call plays because that's the whole point. You have him as your head coach, kind of thing.
Well, and who else are
And
you going to have call plays?
yeah,
Stinovich? We saw what Stinovich did in the preseason when LaFleur gave him play calling abilities.
so yeah, so um, that's a good one to point out, and I think it's good for Watson to get another one under his belt. Making positive plays, especially after you have the week that he just had, never hurts for confidence. So hopefully they can spring forward. But the other thing that was really good to see is that Musgrave had a solid game, and Tucker Craft. They used him on the play that I absolutely hate, which is like just an out route by a tight end, but Kraft is the guy you want doing that, and he made it happen on that route. Yeah, and I know that Kraft even himself kind of made fun of himself after the game and was like, big stupid feet and all, but I mean, that was a heck of a play to hurdle a guy on the sideline. And the fact that he happened to step out is just kind of like, it happens.
And it was
but,
just barely stepped out, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he full stepped out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still out. I'm not saying that the
I know
refs
what you
were
mean,
wrong
though.
in it or
Yeah.
anything. Well, yeah, I know. But it was before. Was that after there was a moment where I called it out on Twitter where they had Musgrave out where it was like a one-on-one situation, and they threw it to him in hopes that he would you know break a tackle and everything else. And I called it out. It's like, you've got a guy with the ability to do it, but you're going to give it to the guy that doesn't have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if that was before or after the
I think it was
Kraft thing.
before. I think I know which play you're talking about. It was kind of like a stop route or something, like a stop or a quick out or something like that. Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, they're giving it to Kraft, and Kraft is, he makes one guy miss, he jumps over another guy, and yeah, so feed him. I've been saying it for a long time now. Feed him.
Yep. He's been making really good strides as a blocker, and you got to reward him for the work he's put in on that, in that part of his game, because you took him, he basically was his offense at South Dakota State, and you told him when you drafted him, all right, that guy's getting the ball, you're gonna block all game. So it's like I've been saying, like, throw him a bone every once in a while. Like, it doesn't have to be some sophisticated play or anything, but like at least let him know, like, hey, like, you're banging your head against the wall, but we appreciate what you're doing. So here's here's a couple pass plays kind of thing and stuff. So it's nice to see him. And
anything as long as it keeps DeGuara out of there. He had another one today where he completely whiffed on some blocks.
Yeah, and I know he did get hurt, so we'll see what the end result of that one is. But and then kind of something we've talked about in previous weeks. You had 3 guys with 6 targets, 1 guy with 5, a couple more with 4. So it's just nice to see that they're kind of getting back to just spreading the ball around. And I know that's partially because like no one guy is necessarily deserving of Devontae or Jordy or Jennings type of targets at this point. But at the same time, like, they don't have that guy. So they shouldn't be trying to force feed one guy targets at this point, I don't think, until someone really starts to separate themselves. And I've said it that in all their games where the offense has looked the best, they've spread the ball around. Like the Bears game, the Atlanta game, the Saints comeback, and then the last 3 weeks, it's when they've spread the ball around where their offense has looked the best instead of trying to feature one guy.
If you remember right, that was some of the best years Rodgers was having when he had those nice receiving groups and he could just spread the ball around.
Yep.
Not when he was just targeting a Devontae or whatever. He had some of his best years when he had the groups of Jennings and Jones and Cobb and Driver, or those groups where he could throw the ball to 5 different targets, 7 different targets, and gain his yardage. So if Love can do it and these guys can step up, this is a little bit early, but I still think they need another 1 or 2 pass catchers in the draft coming up. Keep rebuilding your group. They got away from that too long, and then we were getting to the point where we only had one wide receiver that could be targeted. We only had that one guy. So, do like you used to do. Draft a guy every year, just like you did the offensive line. Draft a guy every year.
Yep.
It never hurts.
No. Yep. You just got to keep reloading because that's what it is. The elite primes are fleeting in this league, so you just got to keep reloading. The whole line was just good enough, and I don't know whether to emphasize the just or the good enough in that sense, but you had some kind of wonky plays, like the one where Love got strip sacked on. That wasn't his fault at all. I don't think anybody blocked anybody on that play. There were a couple other situations like that where you just had guys come screaming in on different plays and stuff. I think the one where Love got called for intentional grounding was another one like that. And I saw that people were saying like Ryan went in for Runyon at one point, but I was looking back at the highlights and all the scoring drives were with Runyon on the field. So I'm not sure exactly which drive that was on or whatever.
Yeah, I kept seeing that too, and I didn't remember seeing him out there. But...
Yeah, and I was like, especially looking for that on the replays, but I was like, all the big scoring plays, Runyon was in at right guard. So I don't think anyone on the O-line, like the best play on the O-line was Zach Tom recovering the strip sack. So I think Tom had a good game out at right tackle, but that was the biggest play of the game, was securing that strip sack to keep possession at that point in the game. But other than that, like I said, and then I thought LaFleur, the only complaint I really have is I wish he would have just let Love throw it at the end of the game, just to, you live and die with, at least you say you tried to secure the win, because I mean, we'll talk about it in a sec, but putting it in the hands of the defense almost burned LaFleur at the end of the game. So I thought 3rd and 5 or 6 or whatever it was with under the 2-minute warning at the end of the fourth quarter, I thought it was a decent enough down where you kind of let Love have some kind of run pass option look or something like that, and give him a chance to like stress the defense and potentially make a play. So, but other than that, I thought LaFleur called a really good game today. I thought he, especially down to one running back, I thought he prudently put the ball in his quarterback's hand without like making it just definitively it's a drop back passing game kind of game. So I thought he managed the injuries to Wilson and Jones pretty well, speaking that they both happened in the second quarter. So I thought it was especially the second half, I thought it was a good game from LaFleur today.
Definitely. Now, did they, I know they said it was a shoulder injury for Wilson, but that was kind of weird because it really didn't look like he did anything.
So the one of the not Pro Football Doc, but another one of the ones that often tweets about in-game injuries, he was mentioning that he's questioning if Wilson dislocated his shoulder because of the lack of, like you said, and like even Sanchez was kind of saying, is like, I don't see anything. You don't see like the kind of contact where you're like, oh, he broke his collarbone, or oh, he definitely sprained his AC joint. He didn't fall on it or anything like that. It wasn't even hard contact. That's why I thought Wilson tore his bicep because of the way pec. Like he kind of or his pec, because of how he like kind of went to stiff arm. I think it was Kenneth Murray, and then like you see him start to reach, and then he starts to pull his arm back in, kind of thing. So I was like, oh, is that a muscle thing? But a dislocated shoulder would also make you roll on the ground in pain.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that I didn't see anything, but hoping that Wilson will be able to play on Thursday. I think he's had some decent plays here and there. He looks assertive in the run game. I know he only gets like 2 carries a game and stuff, but I like how he runs. I like that he is like that decisive, no nonsense, one cut and go. Is it necessarily the right cut? Maybe not, but he's just going to go and burrow his way for whatever yards he can. And sometimes that, he'll pop one out like he did against the Rams, and sometimes he just gets like 2. But I do appreciate a guy who will just like, screw it, I'm going to go get whatever yards I can at this point. So,
Well, and we've said it for a while now that the Packers' run blocking hasn't been great either. So,
yeah,
I mean, you can't put it all on Wilson. So, hopefully, it's nothing major with him, and maybe he has a shot at playing. But otherwise, they are going to have to sign somebody whether they want to or not. They do have that Merriweather on the practice squad, but it sounded
yeah,
like Dylan even got banged up during the game. So there's no way they're going to
yeah,
go in it with a banged up Dylan, a banged up Wilson, and an unknown on the practice squad. You know what they
yeah.
need to do? I don't care what they need, what anybody says. Tyler Goodson's still over at Indianapolis's practice squad. He know the playbook.
Especially if I know they said that it's not like long term for Jones, but if he's even on the fringe of like 3 weeks, you just put him on IR and you bring Goodson or somebody in, because yeah, you need the roster spot. And I think they're back at 53 at this point. They keep towing the line and then like signing
Yeah.
people late, so I keep losing track of what exactly they've got or not. So we're gonna know soon. Like they're gonna have to make a decision tomorrow, basically, because it's a short week. You got to get that guy. Like you said, Merriweather's the only one in the building. That's why Goodson is a clear like choice. You kind of look at him. Hell, like you never know if they. I'm pretty sure.
Taylor's in New England on the
No,
practice squad.
not Taylor, but Lou
Lou
Nichols.
Nichols. Yeah.
He's on the Philly practice squad. Like those are the kind of moves that you're kind of like, okay, that's what you got to do.
The only thing with Nichols is he wasn't in the system long enough to know the playbook. Like a Goodson or a Taylor.
Yeah, but at least he's got some kind of leg up on, like I know what you're getting at. He didn't play in the preseason, but at least he'd have some kind of leg up on anyone who would be brought in, like just cold off the street kind of thing. So it'll be I think what they do tomorrow is gonna really indicate how injured Jones, like I said, if they just flat out put him on IR, with the opportunity to return him later, or if they're like, nah, like we're gonna play it out with him, play it out with Wilson. What they do tomorrow is gonna really kind of tip their hand as to how injured each guy. And like you said, even Dylan was a little dinged up. So
I think they said his was a hip. And that's the last thing you want to deal with is a hip when you're a running back.
And he's been running so good the last few. Like I know that he still will miss a cutback and things like that, but he just looks so much more aggressive and just aggressive and decisive. Yeah, it's not necessarily the right lane every time, but at least he's just kind of dropping his pads and saying, screw it, like I am 250. Let's just go get whatever I can and stuff. So,
I'll be honest. If he would have been running like this all year, I think he would get another contract.
Oh, yeah.
But I still don't think he's fully...
Oh, no. Yeah. I'm not advocating for any of that. I'm just saying that I'm just glad that the light has come on and he is being like back to being, the guy we saw in 2021 where it was like, oh, like you can kind of see the vision of what they were thinking of and stuff. So it's just good to see him get back close to that. And my theory is that when he broke his rib against the 49ers in that playoff game, I think psychologically it's messed with his head in like taking extra hits and all that kind of stuff. So who knows? We'll never know, but I do think it tracks back to that. But yeah, big day tomorrow for the Packers because based on their track record under LaFleur, especially, tomorrow is going to be their like we practiced,
I think
or
somebody
yeah,
said, and I don't know if it was a big decision maker or not. Maybe it was Lafleur mentioned something in presser, but I think this is all 3 days this week are just going to be walkthroughs.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like the only reason I could see like anything more is because you've got, you had the two running backs go down. We're not sure what happened to Devondre. Um you had a couple other guys who kind of got dinged up during the game, so they might need walkthrough should be enough, but you never know if they might go like a shell day kind of thing just to get a little more reps on the field. But I kind of don't expect them to practice. I know they're not going to practice tomorrow. They're going to do the like today was an estimation, and it'll be interesting to see what they do on Tuesday because
You know
they've
what they
kind of
should
split
do?
it. Yeah, they've kind
Hey,
of split it. They've made it a mental day, and they've also made it a like, yeah, we're gonna run through, do even if it's just half pads, like walkthrough kind of thing and stuff.
well,
So
you know what they need to do is just use one of these days as nothing but like a yoga day. Let you guys limber up, stop all these
yep,
soft tissue injuries.
yep. So, but after all the flowers we've thrown on the team, the defense, and I shake my head because this is going to be another one of those games that gets thrown on the they only gave up X number of points, and now people be like, they only gave up 20 points to this really good offense today. And it's like, okay, yeah, I know that's the facts. I know that's what the scoreboard says, all that kind of stuff, but you cannot dispute that giving up 6.5 yards a play is not sustainable. And changed this from four drops changed this from a runaway Chargers win to whatever you want to call what it turned into today. Because that opening fourth down, and that's the thing too, is it's not like Green Bay broke up any of those passes. Those were all flat out drops. Like the Chargers gave away a first down. They gave away 8 points in the red zone on two Keenan Allen drops, which was just completely astoundingly inexplicable. And then the Quentin Johnson one, like that would have made LaFleur's decision to not be more aggressive late in the game, on Green Bay's final drive look kind of dumb. Um of course, the one time Barry's like, I'm gonna run cover one. It's like, oh, and it was like seeing LaFleur say, like, oh, it was great to see him do it. I was like, really? Like, you guys, you have captain play it safe as your defensive coordinator. And the one time he decides to be aggressive is the time it should have gotten him burned. And it's like, yeah, that ain't it. Like, it's just one of those. Yeah, so
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, the defense was
I
what the
do credit
defense.
them for forcing the fumble. Like, that
Right.
was,
They
yeah,
did just enough to let the offense, do what it needed to do.
yeah.
But again, this is another thing where I don't think this helps Joe Barry's case for staying on.
I'm worried
Yeah,
that it does, and that's what
I
makes me
know,
sick
but
about this kind of game. Yeah.
uh, injuries again. Devondre dropped out. Keyshawn was kind of banged up a little bit. I know you have the rookies flashed on here: Anthony Johnson Jr., Valentine, Carl Brooks. I I got to take a moment and say, Fox, do better with your commentators. Mark Sanchez just friggin' sucked today, and we know this is a conservative officiating groups. If they didn't think that hit that Anthony Johnson Jr. delivered in the end zone was if they thought that was a penalty, they were going to throw the penalty. We all know that. There's no way they're going to let that one just go. So if they're seeing it and they're not thinking it's a penalty, it's not a penalty. So shut the hell up.
I thought
You
it was a
cannot
penalty.
like
I thought he got away with one. So, um, But
Yeah,
yeah,
but you get what I'm saying.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
not
yeah,
shy from throwing the flag on that stuff. I mean, the Packers have been burned on it before,
yeah.
but it just if I didn't think it was. I thought he hit him just enough that I he wasn't going to be able to stop because he was already in motion, and I think he hit him just at the right angle that there was no way they could have called a
Yeah,
penalty
the
on it.
replay makes it look not as bad, but it is one of those where just how it looked live, and especially because like I don't know, the way it looked like it was delayed enough where the ball had hit the ground kind of thing, and it just from my point of view, that's where I was kind of like, and I was just kind of waiting for a flag to pop out, but um, I mean, beggars can't be choosers, and of course it didn't matter because they scored a touchdown on the next play. But it the bigger point is I liked seeing that out of Johnson because I know that like he's a feisty player. You know, he does play physical, especially for a guy who was a cornerback. But it's good to see that they have someone who's like willing to throw himself around back there. So I do like that aspect of it. I think that's important to see from some of your secondary players.
He's
And
got to get more playing time, and I'm
yeah,
sorry, but Jonathan Owens needs to strictly stay on special teams.
there's no excuse, and he just made LaFleur's comment from Friday look so stupid because that touchdown that he gave up was like that was just horrible bad. Like you get, and that's not even a receipt. You know, that's not Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnson who's dusting you. That's a no name undrafted free agent tight end from nowhere Division 4 or something like that dusted you on the sideline and left you grasping for air. So yeah, whether Ford is back this week, whether Savage comes back, Owen should not be above Johnson Jr. on the ticker tape for the depth chart. Like
And honestly,
that's
if it were me,
inexcusable.
he'd be on, packing his bags and on the bus tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bring Vinny Sapp up. He's at least can give you the special teams reps and play some defense when needed. So I know people are all about the Simone Biles thing, but it's not worth keeping a guy on the roster that can't play the ball just because of who he's married to.
Yep. So just waiting to see what happens next week. Yeah, and yeah, it's hard to tell whether we'll know. We'll be doing our preview. We'll be recording it
Well,
Tuesday
no,
night, dropping it. Oh,
no preview this week.
no preview this week. Just kidding.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
just tweet out updates for practice this week. So,
right.
um,
Unless
yeah,
you want to do something on your own, I'm not thinking there's going to be a preview this week just because of the short turnaround.
got it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. If anything, maybe we'll just do a quickie. I'll just do a quickie to like update the injury stuff and all. But yeah, I kind of get the feeling if Ford wasn't even questionable this week, I kind of don't feel like he's going to be back this week either. So, um, should get more snaps for Johnson. Like that's and like you and I have been yelling this for a couple months already. Like there's no point in not playing him, especially with Savage out. So it's inexplicable to not have him see the field at this point through the rest of the season, especially when yeah, he's had some missed tackles and stuff, but the guys who are supposed to be your good veteran tacklers, they've missed a lot of tackles too.
Yeah,
So like at least put the guy with some coverage ability out there. So yeah, I all the excuses for why Owens and even Ford should see reps over Johnson, I don't listen to any of them because they don't make any sense to me at this point. Play the rookie, figure out what the hell you have there, and move on at that point, or and just live with whatever the outcomes are.
I agree. And same thing, with the rest of it. Valentine, I know he's getting the bulk of play right now, but even when Jair comes back, if Stokes comes back, just let him play. You know,
I think
I,
I think there's a chance that Valentine's going to be your nickel at that point. You kind of free him up to do a few more things, and also because I think if Ja comes back, Valentine is the one who goes to the bench, not B Allentine goes to the bench, and then yeah, if Stokes is able to come back, because what is it? We are at Where are we? I think this is 4 weeks now.
We're getting pretty close.
Let's see. It was the Broncos? Yep, that was 4 games. So Savage and Stokes are able to return this week. I don't know if they will. It'll
I
kind of
don't know if they've ever come out and said what the extent of the injury of Savage was.
yeah, it's kind of been in the dark. So I need to just tweet. Well, and the good thing is that they do kind of note the guys if they have opened up their 21 day. So we'll see. They do press release that if they do that. So, but I kind of have a hard time, especially if LaFleur's already said that they're not going to do more than walkthroughs. I think it's a stretch to expect either of them back this week.
Oh no, I don't expect either of them back this week.
So we'll keep an eye on it, let you guys know. But I think that the secondary they rolled out this week, the only exception would be if Ja is able to come back this week or not. That would be the only difference. So
well, I think LaFleur said that or Jair practiced Friday, and LaFleur said that he's doing much better. And I think he even said that there was a possibility he could go.
Well, Schneidman was saying that it sounded like the expectation was he was gonna go today. So,
but I think because of the short week, they just went ahead and said, "All right, just set it, and we want you back for Detroit."
Yeah. So, hopefully, that would be a big thing to get back this week. So, and gotta stump for my Wolverine. Schneidman had the article that they need their $100 million defender to produce more. Well, Rashawn got a sack, and the ultimate irony of it is the sack he got was a total coverage and offensive pass protection breakdown sack of its own. So it just kind of shows how, on one end, I know that Schneidman was more referencing Rashawn's pressure rate was down the last few weeks, and I think while it's a counting stat, I think that doesn't give enough credence to what the offenses they were facing were doing. But it was good to see him get the counting stat that everyone gets their eye on. So just to kind of quiet that storm a little bit. So big week for Rashawn this week. This Lions O-line is probably the best O-line they're gonna face all season. So kind of like we were saying going into week 4, they've gotten their butts handed to them by this O-line 3 games in a row at this point. So got to flip the script at some point and get, and try to take it back to them, because that's how you're going to get to go. That's how you're going to stop them, is you got to fight a mano a mano in the trenches, slow up their run game, and make Goff beat you. So I don't have much faith in it because it's still a Barry defense, but big week for Rashawn to, try get it off on the right foot.
Well, and I know people are kind of down on the Lucas Van Ness right now too, but I mean he's still raw, but he's
fine.
He's getting
fine.
pressures, and he's setting the edge fairly well compared to what others on the team are doing.
Yeah. People are just mad that he's not getting, he's a first round pick, but he barely, it's that whole thing again. And it's the same as, why'd you pick Rashawn when you had the Smith brothers? And at least Barry plays the reserves more, that was the whole thing with 2019 was it was like, oh my God, are Za'Darius and Preston going to make it to the playoffs? There's that stretch where Za'Darius was going out every third play of a game kind of thing, and they were still playing 80% of the snap shares and stuff. So I think Lucas has been fine. He hasn't had that big splash play. His biggest splash play was when he ragdolled that Rams tight end a few weeks ago and got the quarterback hit against Brett Rippon. But I think he's been playing well. It's one of those where until he gets the counting stats, it's not going to shut anyone up. But it's not like you said, he's not getting his lunch fed to him by the linemen that he's facing. He's beating up the tight ends that try to block him, and you do see his number flash in the backfield every now and then, and he's still pursuing the ball well. In terms of effort plays on plays that are away from him. So I don't have a lot of complaint of what I'm seeing from Van Ness. They're not, they're relying on him to develop, improve this season. They're not asking him to go and play they're not even asking him necessarily to be edge 3. They're like, you learn the ropes, get your feet wet, all that kind of stuff. And I think I think the best days are ahead of him, but I'm not at all disappointed in what he's doing. Like, I just think that that's more on the rest of this defense than it is on him, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I mean, people are gonna say, "Oh, well, you're biased. You're a homer anyway."
And that's
So,
why I've got on the soapbox for you, because because I think we're in lockstep on the Van Ness pick. I thought it was the no brainer pick, and I just think that people who are looking at it purely from a, well, he hasn't had a sack since week one. It's like, okay, like, easy there, bro. Like, just chill.
right, and not everybody is going to just pop off right off the bat. I mean, even Rashawn didn't pop off right off the bat, even though he
Yeah,
was, like you just said, he was fighting for reps when he came in, when he was drafted. So it is what it is. I would be concerned if we were getting blindside. The tackle was pushing him all the way back and throwing him
yeah,
into dumping him into the stands or something like that.
yeah,
But he's not. He's holding his own. Yeah, the play, the stats aren't there, but you got to give him time.
yeah,
And, but it just seemed like every day this week I was seeing article after article and comment after comment that, oh well, are we already seeing a bust out of Lucas Van Ness, and was that a wasted pick, and why didn't they take this one over that one? And it's like, guys, come on, why are we always second guessing these picks? Give them a chance before you second guess anything.
yeah. He's gonna be a good player. Like, I'm not even gonna say why he won't. I'm convinced that he's gonna be at least a solid player unless the worst happens. So, like, I'm not worried at all. Like, it's if he doesn't make it, it's not gonna be his fault. I'm just gonna put it that way. So yeah, that's all I've got to say on Lucas. His time will come, and I'm not at all concerned about it.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm not concerned about it either. Hell, let's draft a few more Iowa guys.
yep. But special teams, the big concern is, okay, I know Anders missed one today, but I think the long snapping was the bigger problem. You saw Whelan out there looking like a receiver, trying to snag some of these passes, not passes, but some of these long snaps. And I thought that that bodes really well for excuse me, bodes really well for Whelan, because that was always a question for him coming in as the new punter. It's like, okay, like, is, especially for O'Donnell, who's like a vet who's been around for a zillion years. So it was good to see Whelan get the ball down and give Anders the opportunity. But you would like Anders to make a couple more of those. But both of the missed extra point and the missed field goal, it was off of like a snap where Whelan had to like overextend himself just to make sure the ball didn't get past him and stuff. So you like to see him make those kicks every once in a while, but I think that's a Orzik problem more than it's an Anders problem.
Right, and you still got to remember that this guy would get in his head when he was still, when he was missing. So, you know, he likes to overthink things instead of just doing it.
Yeah,
And I could see him overthinking when that kind of stuff happened, and that's what led to the, being off just a little bit.
yeah,
So give him a little bit of time. Let him. I keep seeing Wendell Ferreira. I love you, Wendell, but you got to get off of this. You don't draft kickers. He's been pretty good considering what we thought he
yeah,
was going to be. So
yeah,
you just got to let it be. They did draft him. You know, I'm glad they didn't pull a San Francisco and take him in the third round or anything.
yeah. I know.
But the last two kickers on this team have been drafted kickers.
Yep,
And the last one was pretty damn good.
yep. So uh overall, it's fine. Even with the miss today from field goal, he's still, what is that? He's still at over 82%. And that's the thing, is like, Crosby's stats are more, he was really good, but he wasn't ever elite. Like his stats are all just from being around for forever. So
Well, I was gonna say
um
Mason was. I don't think he ever was above like 90%, was he?
no, except for the one, what was that, 2021 or whatever, the year he made all of them, or 2020. Other than that, it was 2020, because obviously 21 he had that weird Bengals game. But yeah, like he had, like, there was a point where his average was hanging like at 79% or something like that. So Anders is doing fine. Like I I think he's doing all right. I thought Whelan was punting pretty good today. And, today was like, it wasn't a frigid day, but, it's starting to dip towards the low 40s. And it was good to see him still getting, good height and distance on his punts today. And I think the Chargers only had one return. So the biggest
Okay,
critique is like, you'd like to see him get a couple more to nail inside the 20-yard line kind of thing. But I think Whelan's doing all right. We'll kind of keep tracking it as the next few weeks go, because obviously, like I said, we're getting colder. And then
so all right, you were right with the 2020. He was 100%. 2019, he was 91%.
oh, there you go.
All the other times, it's either been high 70s or mid to low 80%.
Yeah. So not Tucker. He's not Tucker.
Right.
But yeah,
So yeah, but I mean, we've said
like
it.
you said, after what we were preparing ourselves for, it's been not bad. Like he hasn't just like olayed a bunch of them or anything like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and again, we've got to wait with him and Whelan just to see what happens when the cold sets in and the snow is flying and all that. But so far, so good, and I'll take what we've got.
yeah, absolutely. And the last one I have here, coverage units were solid, but damn it, Dallin Levitt, get off my roster. You are pointless. You are a
Yeah,
pointless waste of a roster spot.
I
And
mean, I'm
if
all for
if
giving
Bisaccia can't get rid of his binky, he can go take the Raiders job this offseason.
Well, yeah,
I'm
that's what I was just gonna say. I'm all for giving Bisaccia his guys, but when they're even hurting what's going on, then just cut loose. Get
yeah,
somebody else.
yeah. Like, yeah. Dallin Levitt is such a waste of a roster spot. It's not even funny at this point. But MVP, who you got?
Honestly, there's so many of them you could go with right now. I'm gonna take the easy way out and just go Jordan Love. And he's been or this has been his best game. It's easily his best game. So I think just go ahead and give it to him.
Sounds good. I'll also take an easy way out, and I'll just say the receiving room for helping him look as good as he did today. Like I said, it's not the like, oh my god, they made like 7 highlight reel catches or anything like that. Like, honestly, the Dobbs touchdown catch was probably the most highlight reelsy of the catches. We kind of pointed that out earlier, but this was one of Love's best games in terms of ball placement all season. So, but you know, I know I said that there were like 6 drops today, but when it mattered most, those guys made the plays that needed to be made out there, and they converted all afternoon long. So it was really good to see that from this receiving core that's had its up and downs this whole season. So it's just like for Love to be trending upward, it's good for the receiving core to be trending upwards to this through the past few games as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. LVP, who you got?
Jonathan Owens. That's it. I mean, there's so many of them. Again, there's so many of them you could pick from, but that one I've got to say is it. Jonathan Owens. He missed tackles. He was slow in coverage. I like you just said with Levitt. I wouldn't. It wouldn't break my heart to see Jonathan Owens off the team tomorrow.
And you just named mine. Levitt is mine. But one point I forgot to bring up in the recap: Zane Anderson does exist because he made the tackle on the Chargers' 1 punt return. So Zane Anderson does indeed exist, or someone at least ran out there with his uniform on.
Yeah, I
So,
think it was some. somebody else
Who was
pretending
here
to be
for
him.
who was here for alumni week? I know Tremont was a different week, but who's here this week? But
Well,
no,
it couldn't have been
seriously.
this week. It was J.C. Treader and Brian Bulaga.
Oh
So
shit.
yeah, there's no way those guys.
I don't know. Bulaga looks like he slimmed down a little bit in retirement. Nah, I'm kidding.
No, those knees. I don't think those knees are going to
I
give him a
know.
chance to get out there and chase
Well, he
somebody
only
down
ran
like that.
straight. He was only going straight when he made the tackle. But all jokes aside, it was good to see. You know, we beleaguered the point for a while, and it's like, why are they using a roster spot on the? You know, not even necessarily like the 53, but it's like he's been hurt with the hamstring. Put him on IR kind of thing and stuff. So yeah, like you know what? It's good to see him out there and make a positive play on special teams. So I'll take it. You know what? Um, it's finally come to fruition that he's made a positive play, so be it. I'll take it at this point. But Joe, anything else for us this week? I mean, over for the most part, you know, the defense is going to be the defense, and we've said it the last couple weeks. But this stretch, you know, the Chargers, they dodged a lot of bullets. They rolled winners on Russian roulette 4 times in a row. But you know, other than that, I think it's looking, you know, this team is trending upwards and everywhere else heading into this Detroit game. But what else? Anything you got going into Thursday night's game?
Not really. It's Thursday day game.
Day game, that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
uh, Not really. I mean, they just got to build on what they did today. You know, I know we said it where everybody says the Chargers weren't a great team anyway, but they're still a tough team.
Yeah.
Hopefully this, preps them a little bit better to go into Thursday's game against Detroit. It is in Detroit. It is on the dreaded, Ford Field turf. I know they did change out. So, they did change up the turf a little bit, but I think it still is turf. Uh, so yeah, I just hopefully, they can build on it and just let them, go out and have a good game.
Yeah. You know, the vibes are looking better, so never, you know, can't discount that. So hopefully it leads to another win. But that's gonna do it for us today. Like Joe mentioned, we probably won't have a preview, but we won't lock that in. I might have time to put something together this week. Try and get something out on Wednesday if that's the case. But that's gonna do it for us. The Packers move to 4-6 and head into a Thanksgiving duel with with the Lions. Um, Thank you for listening to this episode. Please follow us and the podcast on Twitter. I am at Kawano Mike. Iowa Joe is at Iowa_Joe86. The podcast is at Ohana_Packers. Please go check out our website, ohanapackers.org. We've got a bunch of good blog posts, and all of the streams of the podcast episodes are available on there for your consumption. Please follow the pod on your favorite podcast apps. Give us a subscribe, a like, and even if you're not liking it, please give us comments to review. We do appreciate those. Like I said, that's going to do it for us this week. The Packers are 4-6 going into a big time game against the Lions on Thanksgiving. Wish you all a happy Thanksgiving week and aloha.